Well, welcome to Clutch Talk 101. I'm going to do today the power rankings 1 through 32. Was an interesting week, had a lot of moving pieces, got a lot of teams staying around the same where they're at. So let's get into it. I'm going to start from the bottom. Uh, Last, I got the Washington Commanders. Zero defense. Uh, Carson Wentz is probably the most reckless quarterback in football, and they have zero number one running backs, zero number one receivers. Their offensive line has gone way downhill. And I just yeah, they are going to be stuck in last place. I think there might be one other team that could beat them to last place, but they started out hot in the beginning of the year, so we'll see by the end of the year who has the worst record and the worst team. 31, I got the Carolina Panthers. Um, yeah, there's really no excuses for Baker right now. He's got solid weapons. He's got his coach is fired now. He's gonna have a lot. He's had so many different play callers throughout his career. I mean, in the beginning of Baker's struggles, I was giving him excuses after excuse, and at this point, it's like you're kind of screwing yourself here by playing bad. I mean, if he liked Matt Rule, then he played him out of town. He's been playing super. He turns the ball over all the time. Their defense is solid. Their receivers are solid. And now there's trade rumors of your only star on offense, Christian McCaffrey, getting traded. Yeah, this team is bottom of the barrel definitely right now. Number 30, I got Chicago Bears. Kirk Cousins walked all over that defense. Justin Jefferson at one point I remember had 11 targets, 11 receptions. I remember Kirk was like 17 for 17 or something like that before his first incompletion. Um, they were just dog walking that defense. Uh, I would say bottom two defense in the league, them and the Detroit Lions. Um, their offense, Justin Fields hasn't bounced back at all since his first decent week. Second week was solid, but ever since then, he hasn't really done much. And now we got my number 30 team and my number 32 team coming up for Thursday Night Football. So if you thought last week was bad, just wait. Uh, Number 29, I got the Houston Texans. They are obviously skill wise probably the worst team in the league. But Lovie Smith keeps coaching them in the games. They ended up beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they've won like eight straight in Jacksonville, I believe, or something like that. Uh, Lovie Smith's a good coach. Houston needs to keep him around, but they need to start building from the inside out the right way. Offensive linemen, trenches on defense, and then get your skill players. Because when the Houston Texans started out as a franchise, they started out with Andre Johnson and Carr with their first picks, and nothing ever came to fruition. Uh, Number 28, I got the Detroit Lions. Again, they've been on a steep decline, getting wiped 29 to nothing. Um, their defense, I think, is probably the worst. Number 32 in the league. Their offense still has a chance because they were like number one at one point, but now they've dropped all the way down to like I believe below 10 or at least near it. And if Jared Goff can't get it together, this team is going to be screwed because all they depended on their offense. Number 27, the Indianapolis Colts. I know they're coming off a win, but it was probably the ugliest win of the year um, against my Denver Broncos, in which I have ranked higher than them. Y'all will question me on that, but I'm looking a little bit at potential as well. Um, I just think the Colts are very mediocre. They don't nothing real. They just play meat and potatoes on offense and meat and potatoes on defense, and they don't have a whole lot of skill players right now. So number 26, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've been on a decline as well. I had them as one of my sleeper teams starting out hot, and they hit a little bit of a rough patch here. Losing to the Houston Texans with that low of a score is obviously not very impressive, but season's still young. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll turn it around. Number 25, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Uh, 38-3, there's zero excuses. Uh, but for the people saying Kenny Pickett is trash, I think you better look at his numbers and you better look at like QBR type, like look at some quarterback stats, and you'll realize it's as crazy as it sounds, but he actually had a decent game. It was the Steelers defense that surprised the crap out of me. That I thought they were going to hold the Bills. The spread was 14 points. I did not think the Buffalo Bills, coming off a 3-point win against the Ravens, in which they barely squeaked by, I didn't think that they'd annihilate the Steelers like that. Being at home and having a rookie quarterback start, I think they just feasted on it. And yeah, that's why I got the Steelers going downhill, but I could see them bouncing back as well as well as the Jaguars and the Steelers. Um, 24, I got the Seahawks. Played really well against the Saints. Geno Smith's looked really solid this year, actually. Very surprised on how he's playing. They got a really good, well coached team. Good players all around. Uh, they're shocking a lot of people, and they should have won against the Saints, but Taysom Hill had a very fluky day. I think fluky is the right word for that because most weeks he's going to get 2 carries for 9 yards. That's what he normally gets, and he just absolutely went off. So the Seahawks hitting a little bit of a bit of bad luck in that game. The Atlanta Falcons at number 23. They have come back. They have almost beat and come back on a lot of teams this year. I think the main thing holding them back is Marcus Mariota. Uh, he's not as quick as he once was. He has zero arm strength. The only thing he has is like good decision making, but he can barely even get the ball to them most of the time. Uh, they got talent around him. They got talent on defense, surprisingly, and I just think that Atlanta has a lot more potential with Desmond Ritter in there. He's pro ready. He played 4 years in college. Uh, People say that he didn't play that well in college. He played for Ole Miss, who was pretty much the trash team of the SEC, and he played pretty well against big time teams like Alabama and Texas, or excuse me, like Florida and Georgia. So, uh, yeah, I got the Falcons at 23-22. I got my Denver Broncos coming off our worst loss of the year. Uh, this year has been so many reasons why we're struggling. First, I want to go to coaching. Coaching has been absolutely garbage. Nathaniel Hackett's trying to implement this Aaron Rodgers system onto Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is like y'all remember the Broncos coaches for the most part in history are like, when Kubiak was coordinator and Shanahan was there. They had a lot of that Shanahan type offense, zone run, play action, bootleg stuff. That's what Russ would thrive in. He's good at throwing on the run. He's good at like off script plays. Like he would be great in that offense, but he just keeps implementing this Green Bay offense onto him, and he's not fitting in this offense. I know it's making an excuse for Russ, but it's not helping the case either. Two, we got in IR galore. Javante's out for the year. Gregory's out for the year. Tim Patrick's out for the year. Garrett Bowles is out for the year. Uh, Ronald Darby's out for the year. Those are all starters. A few of them borderline stars. Gregory being a star. Tim Patrick, borderline star. I mean, this it's. And then thirdly, I'd have to put it. I have to put it on Russ just because there's so many plays where he missed open receivers against the Colts, and he's got to change something. The scheme's got to change. They got to quit overthinking everything and just stick to their guns and just get an identity. Uh, but I got them at 22 just because their defense is still top five, and that defense can win some games. They've been competitive in every one of their games, and they haven't gotten blown out. So, all these teams in the lower 20s that I have gotten blown out, and their defense has looked like complete garbage. So, I'm holding on to hope with my defense. 21, I got the Arizona Cardinals. They played hard against the Eagles, but Kyler doing Kyler things again, and I think Kingsbury's not that great of a coach. I don't think. I think scheme wise they are a good fit together, but I don't think he's ready. I think he's a coordinator. Their defense is not that great, and yes, they played hard against the Eagles, but they've lost games that they should have won this year. And like I said, Murray's doing the same thing he's been doing all year. First read and dipping out. Still doing it. Number 20, I got the Los Angeles Rams getting shellacked by the Niners and the Cowboys 2 weeks in a row. Not getting above 10 points in either of those games. Allen Robinson was a horrible transaction. It was a horrible idea to get rid of OBJ and get Allen Robinson. And it was a horrible idea to get rid of Von Miller. This GM saying screw them picks is it's biting him in the butt already. Already. A year after him saying F them picks, he has no depth. He has no picks now. He has, and people say, yeah, you can manipulate the cap space, but that's just another problem you got to deal with because you have no cap space, so you got to manipulate it in some way. They're screwed. Stafford looks off. He looks hurt. They have zero offensive line. They can get no running game going because they have no offensive line. So he's just throwing it to Cup every play. Every play. Cup, 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 Cup. That is their offense. That is it. Um, so, and Ramsey's getting used up because he has no help around him. Same with Aaron Donald. He has no help on the front seven, and then Jalen Ramsey has no help in the secondary. So that's why their defense is not playing very good at all. 19, I got the Miami Dolphins. They're on a steep, steep, steep decline ever since Bridgewater went there. A new quarterback came in and played, but kind of looked terrible too, honestly. Uh, he had a few moments where I was like, he could do better than Bridgewater, but it's gonna be a minute before that guy even gets any developing in. I think the Dolphins right now are just trying to compete. They're 3-2, but man, they it shows how much Tua impacted that offense. Everyone thought Tua last year was a bust and thought he was he's never gonna fit in, blah blah blah. But look how much he meant. Look how good they were doing before Tua got out. So if Tua comes back for whatever reason, I could see them going on a run. But until then, they're probably gonna be stuck in the 20s for me. Uh, Number 18, New England Patriots. After giving a complete butt whipping to the Detroit Lions, Bailey Zappi. He is. Is he the next Tom Brady? Is he the next dude to come out of nowhere, a low end draft pick, come in and steal the job? Because Mac Jones was playing like complete crap this year before he came in. They almost beat the Packers. They scored 24 points, I believe, against the Packers. This week they scored 29 and seemed like they were moving the ball at will against the Detroit defense. So it seems like these guys are believing in him. If I know Bill Belichick, I think he's going to ride this hot hand. Now, my Cooper Rush prediction and him staying in there and taking Dak's job might not happen. In which, if it did happen, I think the Cowboys would be better off. But I don't think it will, just because there's so much money riding on it. This one though, with the Patriots, Zapp could easily take over. He's just a first. Mac Jones hasn't signed a big deal. He only had one good year and took them to the playoffs. I mean, he didn't carry that team. His stats weren't crazy good. He had good efficiency stats, but not a lot of touchdowns and not a lot of game-winning type games. Zappy's playing really well. I really like the Patriots right now. Uh, Number 17, I got the New Orleans Saints. I think this is one of the better teams when it comes to roster. Uh, Taysom Hill having I call it a fluky game. I mean, if you call it anything else, I guess you're a Saints fan. But Taysom Hill having a fluky game, and if it wasn't for their quarterback position, I would have them as a top 10 team all year. But it's too sketchy for me. Their defense is great, even though they didn't hold the Seahawks to a low amount of points. They scored 32 on them. But Saints have potential, but I just cannot believe in that quarterback position. Number 16, I got the Cleveland Browns. They should have won, and they're one of the more well-rounded teams in the league. They have an amazing running game. They have a great number one receiver. They got a great defense, great secondary, great front seven. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's doing pretty solid for them. He's kind of taken a little bit of a decline these past couple games. I think he's trying to do too much. Uh, for instance, the first half, Nick Chubb had 100 yards. Uh, he ended up with like 130. If they would have ran him more, he probably would have ended up with like 160, 170, and they probably would have won the game. Uh, if it wasn't for Austin Eckler, they probably would have won that game. Justin Herbert kind of played like trash. Um, Number 15, I got the New York Jets. Surprise team of the year right now. They are playing really hard. They got really young talent on that team. I love Brees Hall. I think he's going to be rookie offensive rookie of the year. Uh, Kind of looked like a bust at first, but now that they're actually giving him a good workload, he's looking really good. Um, so yeah, New York Jets on the incline. I like a lot of their young players. I hope they have some kind of success. Uh, Number 14, I got the Los Angeles Chargers coming off a win against the Cleveland Browns. Coach about gave it away. I believe in their talent. They got more talent than anybody in the league, but their coach making decisions like that, that's going to cost them a lot of games and important ones because he's making these decisions when the game is close. And I don't know if I'm Chargers fans. Do y'all like your coach? Because if I was a GM of that team, I would have let him go after last year after that game with the Raiders. I just could not stand for that immature going for it on fourth down every time. I mean, dude, what are you 10? What are you 10-year-old that's like, "Oh, go for it." No, no, dude. Like this is the NFL football. You give that ball up, that other team's going to score. If Cleveland would have made that field goal, they have a great field goal kicker. If they would have made that field goal, that coach will be on the hot seat right now. He got a pass. Number 13, I got the Las Vegas Raiders. Uh, Coming off of a 1 point loss last night, I thought the Raiders were going to get completely shellacked. The Chiefs came back. They won the game. I think they're the most dominant team are the Chiefs. They have the most potential to dominate a team because they've proven it time and time again. But anyway, with the Raiders, they were up 17-0. And then they came back, and then I thought the Chiefs were gonna like score a bunch of unanswered points and just cream them, like they do with a lot of teams, and especially against the Raiders in the past. But they hung in there. Uh, I will say that the Raiders are probably having what they would call a disappointing season, but they've looked really good on offense. And what they showed me um, against the best team in the league, in my opinion, last night, I bumped them up. I probably one of the only times I will bump up a team after a loss. And yes, Charger fans, they are one spot in front of you because you know why? They don't have a coach that's going to blow their game. They don't have a coach that's going to go for it and ruin their team's chances. Um, Chargers are extremely streaky. They'll win 9 in a row and then they'll lose 9 in a row. Raiders have seemed like they are just very competitive this year. I'm gonna give them a shot. They really did impress me last night. Number 12, we got the New York Giants. Uh, I feel like one of the most faulty 4-1 records that I think I've ever seen. They have a quarterback that's playing like Mitch Trubisky. They got a defense that's good, but I mean, they don't look great. Packers still hung 22 on them. They're not getting a bunch of turnovers. Uh, Saquon's about the only bright spot of this team. I think a lot of their wins have been other teams with like doing self-inflicting things. Like the Packers just kept shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. Um, I think the Giants. Hear me out. Giants being 4-1 right now. I bet you they will not have over 7 or 8 wins. I bet you they'll end up with 6 or 7 wins this year. Just watch. Daniel Jones is going to be Daniel Jones at some point, and Saquon Barkley is going to get hurt at some point and play injured or be out of the game. Yes, he's been playing great, but or your running back's not going to carry you to wins. Yes, he's been a big contribution, obviously, but if you watch the Giants games back, these teams are just. I mean, the Panthers turned the ball over, I think, 4 times against them. So I just everybody pump the brakes on the Giants. That now that I'm on Twitter learning that the Giants fans are probably one of the most intolerable fan bases. Honestly, like I don't know. Uh, Number 11, I got the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of people probably wondering why I have them so high. I believe in Joe Burrow. I think he's the next Tom Brady. I think he's clutch like him. He doesn't have the physical attributes. He doesn't. He's not super fast or an athlete or have a cannon of an arm, but he leads and he wins with clutch drives. Uh, I think that Burrow would be, if I had to choose any quarterback in the league to start my team with, I probably would choose Mahomes and Burrow, to be honest. Uh, but their defense has been stepping up a little bit, and their offensive line is getting together a little bit. I know they just came up a loss against the Ravens, but the Ravens I think, are a great team this year. Um, Number 10, I got the Green Bay Packers. Uh, I basically have them in the top 10 because they're just a winning franchise. They have not looked like themselves this year. They don't have any good receivers that are just standing out. Randall Cobb is just bailing them out at week after week. I had a parlay going Randall Cobb under, and he had 100 yards. Um, like I've been saying all year, I think their best option is to utilize their running game more and more, but I just think they're a winning franchise. They'll end up making the playoffs. Once we get to playoffs, we'll see where they're at, but I think I'm just going to keep them in my top, unless they start losing a bunch of games in a row. I'm going to keep them in my top 10 no matter what because they've just proven to me over and over again that they are just a winning franchise. Same reason why I have the Steelers not at the bottom of the barrel right now is because the Steelers are a winning franchise and they'll probably end up turning it around and being 8-9 or 9-8 at the very least. Uh, Next, I got the Tennessee Titans, number 9. A little higher than a lot of people. I think the Tennessee Titans last year, when they were the number 1 seed, I think they're on pace to be the same type of team as when they were the number 1 seed last year. I think that Derrick Henry having an efficient run game and Ryan Tannehill run first, pass second, play action passes. That offense is pretty unstoppable, and they hold the ball the whole game. Their defense has been pretty solid too. So I got them at 9. I foresee them being pretty dominant from here on out. Number 8, I got the Minnesota Vikings. This is more so based on record than anything. Um, Kirk Cousins does it again. Chicago Bears. I mean, noon game at home, somewhat meaningless because everyone knows the Bears are trash. Dominates, has a great game. So everyone's going to be a little high on Kirk Cousins right now. Um, Vikings have a really good roster. Justin Jefferson is the most dominant receiver in the game, and I just think that they're the perennial wild card team. That's where they'll be probably at the end of the year. Um, let's see if Kirk can win a couple important games, like primetime games or against a playoff team or something. If he can do that, then I'll start having a little more belief. Number 7, I got the Tampa Bay Bucks. They should have lost against the Falcons. I'm not gonna lie, and like I said in one of my previous segments, I thought that The Bucks' two losses before this against the Chiefs and the Packers worried me less than what I saw against the Falcons. They allowed the Falcons to come up. They were up 21 nothing, I believe, and the Falcons came back. And if it wasn't for that roughing the passer call that everyone's up in arms about, which is it's probably one of that and the Patrick Mahomes call last night, or I'm sorry, the roughing the passer call on Chris Jones against Derek Carr, which should have been a turnover. Those are probably the two worst roughing the passer calls I've ever seen. I think this is the backlash of Tua, but Tua's 5'10", little guy whipping him around like that. Yeah, he's gonna get a concussion. These bigger guys, I mean, you can't protect them like that. You can't if you're not big. In my opinion, like they shouldn't be calling that a penalty. If you get knocked out, you get knocked out. Now, if you're doing some head-to-head stuff, yeah. But anyway, back to my point. Tampa Bay. I still have them up there just because this last win concerns me a lot, and I am definitely going to keep my eye out for the Bucks. But uh, they won, and I don't completely unbelieve in Tom yet. A lot of people are off the Tom Brady bandwagon completely, but I'm not off it yet until he proves me wrong. I mean, he almost beat the Super Bowl champions last year in the playoffs. Should have beat them. So I got the Bucks at 7. Number 6, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Uh, I keep saying this over and over and over again. Lamar Jackson needs a number 1 receiver. He needs one. Everyone keeps trashing Lamar Jackson passing. What do you expect a guy to do when you're running out of the RPO the whole game? You got this scheme going where you're a threat to run, and you're throwing it to your tight end as a safety blanket the whole game. That's why he looks like such a all-time superstar. If Mark Andrews is any other average offense, he is not the guy he is right now. I'm sorry, he isn't. They go to him a lot. If they had a number 1 receiver, you could put Lamar's passing skills or passing like attributes, I would say, in the top tier. He has the arm. I think he makes the right reads. He's just passing the threes all game. No one's getting the separation. All they can do is deep throws. So that's all the good throws you see from Lamar are deep balls because that's all those receivers are good at doing. I think if they got a number 1 legit receiver, that team could be elevated to the class of the Chiefs and the Bills and the Eagles at this point. Number 5, I got the San Francisco 49ers. Who would have thought? I thought at the beginning of the year that Trey Lance was going to get benched at some point and Jimmy G would come in and take over, and he has. And I don't care what y'all say about Jimmy G. He can have inaccurate passes for days. I don't care how ugly of throws he has. Look at his record. And he probably beat your team too. So Jimmy G is a Super Bowl contender once again. Their team is hot. Their team is humming. They got a great defense, great weapons on offense. Jeff Wilson's shown to be another good running back. Kyle Shanahan is making these no-name running backs studs. And it's just like the Broncos offense of old. We'd have a bunch of nobodies running at our running back, and they'd have 1,000 yards. Anybody remember Quentin Griffin? Mike Anderson. Anybody remember those names? Jeff Wilson is a star running back now. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, great offensive line. Jimmy G is managing the game perfect. And they're hot. They're going to be hard to stop in the playoffs. Number 4, I got the Dallas Cowboys. This is a little bit of a reach, I believe, but I am going on based on how hot they are. They are 4-0 with Cooper Rush this year. They've been managing games so perfect, keeping the ball out of opponent's hand. The O-line has stepped up. The running game has stepped up in tune. The CeeDee Lamb has stepped up. Now, last game, the passing game wasn't the greatest, but they still beat them 22-10. I mean, they schooled them. Their defense is elite. Their defense is top 3 in the league right now. A lot of people are saying they're an all-time defense. Pump the brakes on that one. Okay, pump the brakes. Diggs is a little bit of a liability. So on that all-time defense stuff, pump the brakes. This offense has a little bit to. I'd say it's like 65% defense, 35% offense. Credit. Um, if I was Jerry Jones, I'd keep the hot hand going because I guarantee you put Dak Prescott in there, there's going to be expectations and they're going to start losing. Especially with Philly coming up. If Cooper Rush plays and he beats Philly, keep him in there. He just beat the Rams and the Eagles. I mean, isn't that enough? He's 6-0. I mean, come on. And number 3, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. I so bad wanted to put them number 1, but they played the Cardinals really close last week, and they didn't quite look like the Eagles that they've looked at all year. Their defense actually stepped up, but their offense kind of looked a little sluggish. I think the Cardinals defense played them well, surprisingly, knowing that the Cardinals defense is kind of trash. Uh, Now, how is it all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar? In everyone's eyes, Jalen Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson now, right? He's probably higher up on everybody's MVP race, right? Who are his receivers? A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, and Devontae Smith. He's got a loaded squad. And look, they forced him to pass last game, and he didn't. I mean, he did good, but he wasn't. He did what Lamar does. When they shut down the run, he passed like how Lamar's been passing. But Lamar has no weapons. But Jalen Hurts has these weapons. That is a little concerning for me. I think on Sunday, I think the Eagles might have to pass the torch to the Cowboys. And Giants fans, get out of here with your hopes for the division title. It's laughable. Number 2, I got. There'll be debate about this too. Buffalo Bills. I know they're coming off a 38-3 win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know they beat the Super Bowl champs. 31-10, 38-10, whatever it was. They've looked great. But they've had a couple close wins that it really looked concerning for me. Their win against Baltimore, their loss against Miami. There's been a few games this year where not everything's clicking. I think Josh Allen bases everything off of his skill talent. Like he's not the quarterback that's going to make a bunch of calls before the line and make all these adjustments or try to fool the defense with something or look one way and look another. No, he's just a 6'7" freak of an athlete that can throw the ball with a lot of accuracy and a lot of strength. And he could run. That's why he's MVP caliber. Skill set. He's as scary as this sounds. Josh Allen's ceiling is even higher than what it is right now. I've been saying this for a little bit now. There's Bills fans that'll probably say, "No, Josh Allen is the MVP leader right now, and he's the best quarterback in the league right now for sure." What are you talking about? You're watching this game as fans, okay? I'm one of the few people that will use no bias with my opinion. Um, Josh Allen is great. I love Josh Allen. I love the fact that he came out of Wyoming. I love the fact, I love his skill set. I even like the Buffalo Bills. I like the Bills Mafia. I like everything about them. I've watched their games. I'm trying to be a critic. I've watched their games, and there's times where Josh Allen is up, down, up, down. Now, obviously, last game, he did freaking amazing. But look at the games that they played close in. The reason they're playing close is because Josh Allen's struggling a little bit with whether it's getting into now here I've been saying this. I think OBJ would be the perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills. Uh, I'm an OBJ hater. I don't like the way he acts. or acted with the Giants, with the Browns. I didn't like his ordeals. I didn't like the way he played. I never thought he was a great number one receiver. But look what he did for the Rams last year. He elevated that team. If he went to the Bills, I'm telling you, Stephon Diggs would go off. But I doubt that'll happen. And number one, I got Kansas City Chiefs. The fact that they can be down 17-0 last night and have no worries in the world, I think that is one of the best traits to have in a team is to have no worries. They're not worried at all when they're down 17. They don't we'll come back. Like to be honest, while I was watching that game when they were up 17-0, I wasn't even worried about the Chiefs. I knew they were going to come back. And to have that up your sleeve to just come back on teams like that, I think it's the most dangerous team. I think it makes them the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. Their ability to just come back on teams and when they need it, they get it. Like they are very clutch. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes is probably the best uh, pass catching and quarterback through duo in the league that I've seen in a long time. Um, Chiefs are just too dominant. And you could see that they were not worried. You could see when they were coming back, you could just tell they were playing chill. They were just boom, 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 up and down the field like it was nothing. Obviously, their defense is kind of a liability, but I think Patrick Mahomes' ability to come back will be the ultimate reason why they have success this year, and it has been for most of his career. If the AFC Championship or the divisional round were to consist of the Bills and the Chiefs, I think Mahomes would do the same thing he just did to the Raiders last night. I think the Bills would be up early and the Chiefs would come back. They play each other next Sunday, but that's I'm not gonna put a whole lot into that game unless I see something drastic happen. Like if someone beats someone else down or if someone gets injured or something, I probably won't put a whole lot of stock into my rankings because of that game, just because it's regular season. But like if the Bills can just annihilate them, I might put the Bills in number one. But if they beat them by 1 point, I don't know if that's enough to change my mind. Um, I just believe Patrick Mahomes has been there. He's done it. The farthest Josh Allen has gone is the divisional playoffs, guys. Everyone needs to chill on the Super Bowl favorites for the Bills. I have them. I've had them as my Super Bowl favorites at certain points of this season, but I haven't seen it yet. So just that's Bills, guys. Let's relax a little bit here. When's the last time they've been to the Super Bowl? And what happened the last time they went to the Super Bowl? 25 years ago? I have to be patient with the Bills. I've seen the Chiefs do it. I've seen Tom Brady do it. You know, uh, I just the teams that I've seen do it over and over. That's why I'm not biased, but I have a a certain stigma about certain teams. Vikings, Bills, like those type of teams. I always consider like great talent, but first round out every year. Chargers, Cowboys, super high talent, but will lose in the playoffs. Chiefs, Packers, con- every year, playoff contenders. Every single year, whether it was Mahomes, Alex Smith, Rodgers, Favre, but the one steady thing has been Tom Brady. I think he might be being overlooked a little bit this year, but we'll see how these rankings pan out. I have them new every week. I will have new videos all throughout this week. Go ahead and check them out and subscribe, guys.